everybody. Welcome back. August 31st, 2018, 1:16 a.m. Yes, it is late or early in the morning. I'm doing this video because I just want to give you guys a little update on the stats of what we're dealing with in the Pacific and in the Atlantic Ocean, as well as a little bit of an update of what to expect in the central to central east part of the U.S. as far as that rain situation going on. Might be a slight chance I might not get to a video early this tomorrow morning, only because Caroline and I have some plans. But that does not mean I won't have an afternoon update. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick update because there have been some changes that are worth talking about. What you're looking at here is a fast forward basically to September 8th. And if the data stays true, this is what we're going to expect to see. Now, this would be Hurricane Miriam. By the 8th, yes, it will be up this high. Um, we are then looking at Hurricane Norman, and then we are looking at Olivia. And by this time, we will also see Hurricane Florence in the Atlantic Ocean, if all stays true. So again, I'm giving you a future look into what's going on, but I also have a current look of what we are looking at as of right now as we speak. Up here, we can see the remnants of Lane, still a cyclone-ish looking situation to me. Low pressure system, absolutely. I don't think it'll get much stronger, although we have seen these storms dissipate and reform as they get up towards that typhoon area. And speaking of typhoons, we have one of the bigger typhoons I've seen in a long time. This typhoon is hitting sustained winds at 166 miles an hour. That is way into the equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic or the Pacific Oceans. We're at 916 pressure with this puppy, so this thing is very low pressure, very strong, very big, as you can see, much bigger than the other storms going on in the Pacific as far as our hurricanes go. This thing is expected to take almost a direct path into Japan, unfortunately. We kind of just got to keep an eye on the timing with this, and as we get more data and more of a direction, we'll be able to see actually what part of Japan it'll hit, because more, based on the atmospheric conditions around this thing right now, it seems to have no other way to go but north. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Again, the remnants of Lane, and then we have currently Miriam about to make its escape up north, which we are actually expecting to happen any hour now, to be honest. And then Norman, again, sorry, getting these names mixed up. It's hard to keep track now when you get the rapid fire. But then we have Norman. So again, Norman wants to take that southern dip and then kind of plateau out. Could be a threat to Hawaii. I also think this thing might hit hook north. And then again, if we go back to our a little bit future ones, we get a look at Olivia, which is after Paul, which I just said was would more than likely kind of clear over the top of Hawaii, a little bit more of a closer call than Miriam, obviously. But Olivia, the paths are showing this thing going straight west, maybe a slight hook north, and then literally going right into the main island as we showed in the video before this one. And also at this time, if we make it to the 8th and this data stays true, this will be Hurricane Florence in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And again, because we're so far out, at least that 5-day period, any change in pressures could either do one of two things. It could either hook it out quicker up into the Ireland area, or it could affect it to maybe come a little bit closer than we would like to see to the East Coast. Again, I'm not making any predictions here. I'm not saying this thing will hit the East Coast or do anything besides what I'm reading to you on the data. I don't like making the prediction things because, you know, a lot of predictions go wrong. I like kind of just teaching the data as I show it to you guys. So this is what we're dealing with right now, guys. We got a very active situation going on. The Pacific has been active for, I want to say, a good solid month now, and now we are just seeing the Atlantic Ocean do the same. Ooh, excuse me about that. Actually, I should probably edit that out. With that said, we also have this situation going on basically a little bit past Puerto Rico now to the west, more over Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, Haiti area. And this does still have the potential to become a cyclone as it makes it into the Gulf. They're not giving it much of a chance because of all the landmass in front of it. It would have to do some pretty slick maneuvering to get in there to become a cyclone, although we have seen it happen, so I'm not putting anything past that. Again, no predictions made there. Just giving you the basic data. So we looked at both of these charts. This thing's a monster, guys, this typhoon over here, so we're definitely going to be doing another video on that. As far as the updated spaghetti plots for possible Hurricane Florence coming off the west coast of Africa, the one we just spoke about being towards the middle of the Atlantic, some of these charts are bringing it a little more to the west than previously shown. A lot of these had this thing coming up a lot sooner. Again, I'm not trying to push any sort of fear or anything into anyone. I'm just showing you exactly what I'm looking at. This black triangle, for those of you that don't know, I try to explain this as much as I can. This is the current direction of the storm. So whenever you see this black line with the triangles, that is the current direction, and this is the expected direction based on all the model predicting companies out there and different models we look at. But just because you see the straight line beeline in this way, that does not mean it's going to go that way. That means that is currently the direction it's heading. So in 20 minutes from now, this thing could shift up into this direction, which it more than likely will based on the spaghetti plots. So hope that made sense. Really quick, our mimic chart. I'm getting to really enjoy this chart because it's showing a lot of the different moistures and the barrel roll stuff I look for, and of course those shark fins as tropical waves. But we can clearly see here that Miriam is making that northern movement. It's going straight up past the big island of Hawaii. But again, any little pressure can shift this thing to the west. It is having a little bit of help from some moisture it's pulling up from beneath it. And that is very warm moisture, so it's just aiding in this storm possibly becoming stronger. Again, as it gets past this point where you see the blue, that's the cooler water. So once it gets into that area, we can expect it to die down. But then we got Norman over here. Norman, again, wants to make that southern dip and then come a little bit closer to Hawaii than we like to see. And then we can actually get to begin to see the formation of Olivia, which the percentage has risen dramatically on this storm forming. So chances are we will see Olivia within the next couple days. And according to the last data I saw, guys, this thing doesn't make any turns north or south. It goes straight for the main island. So this thing's going to come up to this right about where Norman is, and then it's going to come west, and it looks, as of now, it could be a threat to the main island. Again, far enough out for major changes to happen. That is just what is going on right now. As you watch the end of this 72-hour loop here, or 48-hour loop, you begin to see a lot of stronger storms picking up in the Gulf. The Gulf is very electric right now. It's very full of moisture, strong storms, and that is exactly what these types of storms that Florence need, even though Florence is going to be one of those middle Atlantic storms. Once we start seeing that little bit of rapid fire where these storms make it south, that is what fuels these things, and that's what keeps them alive. Even this area right here, which you're watching, is what they're considering could possibly be that second tropical cyclone if it makes it through, Dominican Republic and Cuba, and either goes in between the Keys and Cuba, or can even make it to the Gulf at all. So I think that's all I wanted to show you. In fact, actually, no, we are looking once again at the continent of Africa. I know this has been in 3 videos in a row now, but I really want to try to get this across to you guys that when you're looking at this chart, when you know how to separate the systems. This is one system. This is currently going to be the Florence system they're talking about. Looks like it's already getting to start that counterclockwise motion as it's exiting the coast of the western part of Africa. Then we have a second system right here, which will be coming right behind it. And then a third, and I could see a possible fourth, and then even back here, guys, this would be a fifth. So this is what happens this time of year. We get wave after wave after wave of these big storms coming off Africa, and then once again, it just depends on what's going on around it. That's going to allow these storms to form into hurricanes, and more times than not, this time of season, we do get that cyclone formation. As we remember from last year, a lot of these storms formed so close to the coast of Africa that's why they became those Category 5 storms. They had this warm water belt to travel already as hurricanes to get stronger and stronger and stronger before the first landmass they would see would be the Leeward Islands. So, all All right, with that said, guys, actually, let's talk about the middle of the country first. Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, you guys can see it with your own eyes. Still just dealing with a major rain situation, a lot of flooding going on. I just took a look at the river gauges. A lot of them in Minneapolis, or not, I'm sorry, not Minneapolis, Minnesota, um, where we were seeing those flooding rivers. They have actually receded a little bit, which is a good thing. You never want to see those things go above purple color in that chart. But now we're beginning to see a rise in the rivers in places in Iowa, Illinois, and then also as we can go back into areas of Nebraska, even are showing signs of flooding. So this area, you're just going to expect a lot of rain over the next few days. It will move again, just like the other system, towards Michigan, and then possibly cooling down the northeast as it moves across. But nothing we could do about it. Flooding possible, as you can see, in many of these different cities in the states that we're talking about. And that's just what we're dealing with. So, one last thing I wanted to just bring to your attention. I brought up this chart for the earthquakes. We have been adding a little bit of a earthquake information video line, if you want to say, about what's going on in the Pacific Ring. So I had this set for the last 7 days, 4.5 and stronger, and you can clearly see a pattern going on here. We have a lot of strong earthquakes going on along the Ring of Fire, and not to put any theories or anything in anyone's head, but looking at this chart, there's two places missing that I'm not seeing earthquakes, and that is obviously this area down here, closer to the southern poles, and then South America, and then Australia, basically where that borderline is there, that we're not seeing many earthquakes, and we're also not seeing many earthquakes as far from Washington all the way down into Mexico. So we do know Mexico is capable of producing very strong earthquakes, as we've seen sevens and eights in this in the past year and a half, even a shorter amount of time. We did have a pretty strong quake, 4.4 in California, that did cause some damage recently. I'm not saying we're expecting anything crazy to go on in this area. We also had that Oregon 6.3, I believe, right off the coast. So just because it hasn't happened in the last 7 days does not mean it won't happen soon. But it's looking kind of eerie to me at this point that all these areas are getting very strong quakes, 4.5 and stronger, and we're just missing this one area here. So again, for those of you that follow that type of stuff, just a little bit of interesting info for you. All right, guys, it took this a little longer than I wanted to. Again, we're dealing with Tropical Cyclone 6, which is right off the west coast of Africa. We got Hurricane Norman, which is in gusts of a Category 5 storm. It's still considered a 4 because of the sustained winds, but the gusts are well within Category 5 range. Very, very strong rapid intensification storm. Hurricane Miriam, we're at 90 knots. So give or take, that's about 102, 103 miles per hour. Still a strong storm. But again, as it moves north, I believe it will begin to die out unless somehow it hooks into typhoon territory. And then we do have this typhoon, JEBI, I believe it is pronounced, 166 mile an hour, sustained winds. That's the max winds. That's Category 5, no doubt about it. 916 pressure, very low. Very, very healthy storm. Maybe a little bit of dry air being pulled into that area here, as you can see. Very strong eye wall, and the donut is about 90 miles wide. So that is a very, very big area of destruction. We're going to keep an eye on that as well, as it is expected, as you can see in this chart right here, that this thing might hit the dead center of Japan or just to the west of the center of Japan. So they have not caught a break in a while. A lot of the spaghetti plots have this thing riding right up the center of the island. If we were in true north, or actually we are in true north, if we were to tilt a little bit to the west, we would see this thing go right up the middle of Japan itself. So got to keep an eye on it, guys. Thanks for hanging with me. I know it's late. Maybe a lot of you will get this video in the morning. This is just in case I can't put something out in the morning. I just wanted to give you the actual updates as of right now. All right, guys, have a great rest of your evening, early morning, and one way or another, we will talk here tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Have a good night and morning. Bye-bye.